Welcome to Map Crow, the RPG art show. My name is Kyle, and today we are talking about a lot of things. Originally, this video was supposed to be about how to use watercolors, to scan them separately from your line art, to make beautiful watercolor maps with clear lines, and it didn't quite work out how I was expecting it to, so that video will come when I figure out a better workflow for it. In the meantime, I can show you the end result by using lots of digital coloring. It ends up looking something like this, which I think looks pretty cool. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about my go bag for running Dungeons and Dragons. I have recently been able to start running games again with my friends in person, and I have to drive a ways to get to the location, so I like to travel lightly. First off, I always make sure that I bring my DM screen. Now, there is a lot of debate over whether a DM screen is something you need. It really depends on your tastes. I like to have it so they can't kind of see my notes and the mess of things that I have behind me, and they can just kind of focus on looking at me, looking at each other, looking at their character sheets, looking at the battle board, all that kind of stuff. It's not as distracting or messy looking because it's all behind the DM screen. But this isn't a video about a DM screen because I want to talk about my solution for battle maps. These days, I'm running with a 14-inch by 14-inch magnetized marker board, and I use chess pieces for all the different characters because that's a little bit easier than keeping track of a bunch of different tokens or different colored meeples, and it sure is a lot easier than keeping track of a bunch of minis. I don't have very much space to run my game where we go, so I need to keep it light. I need to make sure that the real estate I'm using is being used well. And that's why I have the Sharpie pen for the board, and I'm using ultra washable Crayola markers for the lines that I will be drawing on this map. With just a wet piece of paper towel, you can wipe these lines directly off of this map. It's really easy to clean, and it's really easy to make too. I think, you know, other than spending whatever it was, like $12 on the marker board, you know, and $5 for the markers, that's about all it would set you back. Now, I want to warn you right now, if you try to use dry erase markers on top of the Sharpie, the dry erase marker will actually erase the Sharpie right off the marker board, so be careful. That's why I'm using the Ultra Wash Crayola markers. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the list of names that I have for NPCs. Anything that my players can throw at me. I've got humans, goblins, elves, drow, demon names, angel names, fae names, names for treants. I've got names coming out the wazoo because, you know, you never know what's going to happen. And I don't want to have to sit there and try to think of a brilliant sounding name that matches the aesthetic of my world and all that kind of stuff. So I just have a big long list that's ready to go in case somebody says, hey, what's that guy's name? But I don't want to talk about that because I want to talk about the roll under hack that I have made of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Now, listen here. I'm not telling anybody what's good or bad or what's the best way to have fun. I just really hate using computers to run my Dungeons and Dragons game, and that's why I made Powered by the Apocalypse style playbooks for a couple of the classes that just have basically a checklist of all the proficiencies and abilities and spells and cantrips and feats that come straight out of the 5th edition standard reference document. I find I have more fun, and it seems like my players have more fun if we're playing the game and looking at each other than if we are all looking up the exact wording of spells and spell components and stuff. So I just put it all out in front of us. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about how I have a list of all the kinds of weapons and armor and ammunition and spells that my players can get in the various shops in my town. Which kinds of magic are legal, which kinds of magic will get you in trouble if the witchfinders find you with it, and which kinds of magic you can only get at the church, and all that kind of stuff. It just really speeds things up if I need to make a magic item on the fly or make a cultist with a specific magic spell. It's all right here, and I don't have to go like digging through pages and pages. It's just in like a couple of sheets that are stapled together with rules that are quick and easy to read. But I don't want to talk about that, because I want to talk about my prep notes. I use Sly Flourish's Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master's steps to plan out each of my games, coming up with my 10 secrets, my hot start, and a couple of combat encounters. I like to keep track of old secrets and mysteries that haven't come up yet, because it has kind of become a running gag for my party to kind of choose their own adventure away from all of these clues that I'm dropping. So in order to keep that joke running, I need to keep track of all these clues that I've been dropping. But I don't want to talk about that, because I want to talk about the maps that I actually use at my table. Now, as you can see, as I mentioned in a previous video, when I draw maps for my game, I draw very simple maps in Google Slides. It's a really easy method to just create some boxes with colors and lines and take notes in them. So I'll have the player version of the map with just like a couple of labels, and then this is my village map where I have all of the secrets behind all of the different locations they can visit just jotted down, and it's all on one page. It's just lean and evocative enough that I could run the NPCs or general gist of what's going on there. But I don't want to talk about that. And I don't want to talk about how I just have like a small pile of pages that I can draw diagrams and monsters on. No, because I want to talk about the Old Road scene. This is a really handy thing. I used this Mimic House map, not even as a Mimic House, but because I had this map with me, I could completely improv this spooky house situation as a hot start to a game when I wasn't sure how to get things rolling, how to kind of introduce these looming threats on the way. So I just introduced this house that seemed to like just appear on the horizon, and it turned out it was made out of centipedes. But I had the map here and no notes to go with it, so I could just improv that whole encounter. And that's what this book is for. It's got all kinds of encounter maps on it and NPC ideas and plot hooks all ready to go, so you don't have to think about it. But I don't want to talk about that, because I want to talk about my notepad that I use to keep track of hit points, and all the extra dice I bring, and my mechanical pencils that I never have to bother sharpening but still have erasers. I want to talk about just playing games in person again. Oh my gosh, it is so much fun. I do not miss staring into a webcam and having those awkward pauses in between people speaking up because it's impossible to read body language or make eye contact. I just want to celebrate that I am in a fortunate situation to run games with my friends again. And the last thing that I want to do when I'm running games in person again is look at a computer screen. Thank you for watching.